Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today I'm bringing about another question everything segment because there are a lot of things that we should ask questions about. And so the point of this series is not for me to give you answers to things. The point of this series is for me to encourage you to ask questions about things, specifically things that we wouldn't normally think to ask those questions about. So this is really about helping you to understand that sometimes the things that we're taught in history might not be what we believe. So I mentioned in my other video that I've really taken a liking to looking at ancient maps. And I went over some of these maps in the Tartaria video, and then I started showing some of these North Pole maps that I actually came across thanks to, I think it was the John Levi channel that I came across these ancient maps, and they really piqued my interest. So first of all, what I really want to say is that if school would start including things like this in their curriculum or some of the other topics that I'm going to be exploring in future videos, I think that a lot more people would like history than what they do. School really presents history in this dry, boring, just kind of get through it sort of way. And I think this is for a reason. I think it's because if they bore the heck out of people, people just aren't going to be interested in digging further into the truth and to possibly seeing that maybe those things that were being taught in school just might not be correct. So I don't know, that's just a theory that I have, because why else would they try to make history as boring as they possibly can when there are so many interesting things that we actually could learn about? So this right here is actually an ancient map. I believe it's from the 16th century of the North Pole area. So what was believed in that time was that at the North Pole, there were actually land masses. And in the center of the North Pole was a giant magnetic rock. So this was actually made by Mercator. That's the map maker, the cartographer who made this map. And he is actually the one who made most maps that are used in schools nowadays. He also designed those maps. But he did this kind of top-down look at the North Pole area. And he really captured some things about what could possibly be at the North Pole that I think that a lot of people have never thought about. We're always told that there's nothing but water at the North Pole. Now, South Pole, yeah, there's a landmass there, but North Pole, no, nothing but water. Not according to the Mercator map. And another interesting thing is that if you look here, there's a little area called Friesland, and that also is up here too. And that is actually southeast of Greenland. So this is Greenland, this is Iceland, and they say that there's a little area called Friesland, and they actually named the little towns and settlements that are there. Now, some people are saying that Friesland is actually a part of Greenland and that they just mapped it wrong, and that could very well be the case. And you know, I'm not trying to say that there is definitely land at the North Pole right now, but what I am saying is that there are people who thought that there was land at the North Pole, and is this something that we could think about also? I think that it's fun to think about these things. So here's just another map showing that they think that there was land at the North Pole. It's harder to tell in this one. I actually wasn't sure at first, but then I saw that it says Tropicus Cancri. I probably did not say that right, but that's the Tropic of Cancer, and that is up in the north. So this does definitely look like the North Pole in the other map. So in this map too, they believed that there was a landmass, 4 sections of land at the North Pole. Same thing here. This is another map, 4 sections of land at the North Pole. And this is the last one. This one doesn't have like it's not labeled or anything, but I thought it was interesting just to show you that, yeah, there's another one here. This is the North Pole right here. And actually, if you look at this one kind of looks like it's all one piece. And I know that in the earlier maps, I think it was the earlier maps than the Mercator one that I was showing you, they did have it all connected. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that it was one landmass in the earlier maps. So, but again, it's just showing you that there's land at the North Pole, and that's not what we're told. And again, these could be completely off, but it's just one of those question everything things. So now what I'm going to do, we're going to do this later. Let's just look here. Mysteries of the first ever map of the North Pole. And I'm going to include all these links in the description box for you to go over, because they don't give me a whole lot of time on this screen capture. The free version of it, I'm going to have to invest at some point. But anyway, yeah, because I'm already up to like 5 minutes. But so this starts talking about this Mercator map here, and I'm just going to go down right here. In order to make his map useful for navigation, though, Mercator had to sacrifice accuracy in other areas. Specifically, he had to stretch out the top and bottom parts of his map, making the lands and the seas in the far north and south appear disproportionately larger than those nearer the equator. This is why so many people think Africa is the same size as Greenland, when it is really about 14 times bigger. The Mercator projection is still very common in schools. Okay, and this is actually a Mercator map here. It says this is Mercator's 1569 map of the world, the first to feature his famous projection. And if you look up here, that there's a landmass at the North Pole also. Under the terms of this Mercator map, the North Pole would appear so large as to be almost infinite. So instead of including it in the overall projection, you probably can't see this right here. So instead of including it in the overall projection, Mercator decided to set a small top-down view of the Arctic. So that's actually what it says in the bottom left corner. So right here, would that be it there? But what that is that's just the one that I showed you earlier. Okay. Here it says, by the 1500s, not very many people had ventured up to the Arctic. No explorer would set foot on the pole itself until 1909. And this didn't stop Mercator, who dug into some dicey sources to suss out what he should include. The most influential, called Inventio Fortunata, was a 14th century travelogue written by an unknown source. And that is actually by someone who claims to have gone up to the North Pole and to have found land there, and I believe a whirlpool and rivers and this magnetic rock here. So I'm going to show you here. This is just a website that gives you a summary of what this Inventio Fortunata is, and it tells you more about what they said they found at the North Pole. Let me see. Contents from secondhand sources who saw the Inventio Fortunata describe an English priest who was driven to investigate the north. In his travels, he finds a place called the Isle of Dwarves, which are inhabited by men with long feet. Further is in the book a vast continent at the pole that is divided by rivers moving so fast they don't freeze at the Arctic chill. At the center of the pole sits a black magnetic rock that is 33. Isn't that interesting? Those of you who know the significance of 33, take note of this. It's 33 miles around. That number shows up everywhere, and to which all compasses point to. After leaving the land, the priest returns to England and gives the report to the king. So this is supposedly the resource that Mercator used for his map. Now, what I want to go to here is, I don't know if you've heard of Admiral Byrd. He was in the Navy. He was a huge, he was well known. I believe he was also a Freemason, I'm not sure. But they claim that he has a journal entry written about a flight that he took to the North Pole, in which he said that there was land there and that it was not just water. So again, I'll leave this link in the description box. And again, all of this is speculation. I don't know if this journal is real, but I mean, it's still extremely interesting, and it really does give you a piece of history, even if it would be folklore. And I think that it's something that people should, just have fun with and learn about. So it says here, now this is about Admiral Byrd again. It says his flight over the North Pole that took place in 1947. He said via radio that beneath was not snow, but huge areas of land with mountains, forests, and vegetation, huge lakes and rivers with animals that resembled mammoths. Before his death, he he said, I think that should be he said, there existed a land beyond the pole that was an enchanted continent in the sky, a permanent mystery of Earth. So again, I'll leave this link here if you want to read through the whole thing, but I want to finish up here with going to Google Earth, because this I found to be the most interesting thing of all. You might not think that it's significant at all, but you know, I'm just weird like that I like anomalies like this. So I actually learned about this for the first time from the John Levi channel again. This is Google Earth right here. And so I just typed in North Pole and it's showing me right here where the North Pole is. And you see, you know, it's water. That's what's at the North Pole. So let's just go in a little bit farther. And what I want you to notice is the seam. It looks like a seam, kind of like they wrapped, they were, when they were making this, that they kind of wrapped it together and they didn't quite fit it together there. But if you notice, this seam, were it to keep going, would go straight through the North Pole. So if you zoom in on this seam here, you can kind of get a little look at what might be underneath it. Because yeah, it definitely looks like there's something underneath this seam on Google Earth. So what does that look like to you? Does it look like there's possibly something there? And I mean, because all of this is obviously, if you look at the ocean, to me, that just looks like CGI. That does not look like ocean to me at all. What is this though? What is underneath this seam? And why are we only seeing CGI for the ocean? I mean, look at this. This is on Google Earth. You can check this out. You can see this for yourself. And the thing is that you have to ask yourself, why is it all CGI for the ocean? I mean, you can go on, you know, let's just go here. Okay, so we'll go like right here. So, and you're going to get, if you zoom in, you're going to get actual land. Eventually. Let me go over here. It'll be faster. Maybe not. That's weird. It's very pixelated. Maybe I'm going too fast. Strange. I didn't have this issue when I did this before. I'm wondering if it's not loading right or something. Well, anyway, this is something that you can go to on your own on Google Earth, and you can see that seam for yourself. Let's see how much time I have left. Okay. So anyway, back to the seam. These are just questions, again, that we have to ask. So we've got a map that shows, more than one map actually, that shows land at the North Pole. We've got a seam on Google Earth that makes it at least look like there's something underneath there. And we have the story by Admiral Byrd, where they claim that he also saw land at the pole. And there's also a story about him regarding South Pole too, Antarctica. So that's for another day though. But, you know, just another question. If you want to have some fun with your kids exploring, or if you just want to do it on your own because you think it's neat like I do, have at it. And I hope that you enjoy this as much as I did. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one over on Instagram or possibly leave one on my channel. Who knows anymore? Sometimes they let me have channels or comments, sometimes they don't. Anyway, and if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.